Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Config Jason, and today we're gonna talk about another common question every beginner makes. What coin should I buy? Since it can be sometimes a hard choice. I have to say this will be a shorter video because I want you to watch until the end and understand what I say. I have to note that it depends on what I call the layer that you belong to. You can watch my previous video Purposing Crypto to understand this if you haven't yet. So suppose you're in the layer one or what I call the buy and hold, then just forget about alts, ignore them completely, just make them disappear from your ideas, from your thoughts. That there's absolutely no point in back holding alts, even if you're in bull, no matter how profitable they will be. Any attempt of making a profit will be lost at a later date, I say with almost 100% certainty. So just stick to BTC, and even then, if you want to progress, you can just leave it indefinitely there. Statistically, it's way more likely you got into in a bull market than in a deep bear, even though I'm recording this in bear. So BTC will also have its considerable drawdowns in bearish markets, and in most times it's not really much better than odds. This is some sort of general advice, but I want to focus on bull. In bear again, you can be fine by averaging down your entry every 2 or 3 months, of course, with money that you can lose entirely. Now, yes, let's talk about bull since it gets a bit tricky. I say odds are a bit juicy, but you need to keep track of them. Then exiting layer one. You need to also take profits and don't be afraid of losses. You're experimenting and conserving your capital at the same time. And final point, don't stress too much. This is not the last opportunity you have in the market, but the first one, actually. So it's wiser to conserve and learn than to lose and try to recover later on. In summary, you want to buy BTC for the medium or long term with, again, money that you can afford to lose entirely. You want to check the market regularly, but you don't want to be addicted to it. I also know for a fact that for you as a beginner, won't be able to follow all of these points. I made them as an advice to guide yourself. If you want to experiment, then the only thing you need to respect with rigor, I said it 4 times already, but just don't put in more than you can afford to lose entirely. And I say experimenting is actually good and healthy for your learning. You can have someone to always spoon you with advice. Just keep that as a simple rule, and from there you experiment. I gave you some guidelines, some tips, but you are the one who needs to do the learning yourself. So now we go to layer 2. You're already building an edge in the market. Although you still need to respect the rule of not playing with more than you can afford to lose, but you have more experience and you know risks considerably better. Again, you need to keep learning. Uh, what you need to do now is to define your area of interest. If you still don't know which one to choose, then it means you're in layer 1 and don't have enough knowledge to progress. Gaining knowledge only relies on screen time, by the way. I understand the possible niches as a spectrum. You can be tied to macro and barely touch crypto, basically that you either had or create a passion for legacy markets. I'm here not talking about LARPing to know macro. Or you try to find your edge in lower caps rather than higher caps. I also see a distribution chart in which people tend to be in the center of these two sides, while the extremes are less populated. So if you want to stand out, then I just hint how to position yourself. But do note that the more you stand out, the less useful your network will be, and the more you'll have to gain your own knowledge. So by nature, is harder. Okay. In short, if you're in layer 2, you won't need me to answer this question for you. You know perfectly what's your area of interest. And I talked a bit about niche positioning and standing out, but I feel that's a slightly different topic for this video. So, overall, I think I said everything I had to say. It's time to wrap up. So, don't forget to subscribe, like, and all that wholesome stuff, as I like to say. If you have any feedback or concerns, don't hesitate to comment or DM me. And see you in the next one.